Hello YouTube. In this video I'm going to be talking about a topic that has been highly requested ever since the genesis of this channel. Because if you've watched me lift, or if you're watching me right now talking to you, you can notice something interesting with my posture. I'm straight, my shoulders are back, everything is how it's supposed to be, but I'm not straight. I have a shoulder that's higher than the other. I am uneven. It looks like I am trying to skew myself towards one side. And it's of course not something I do on purpose. It is due to a condition, and that condition's name is scoliosis. And it's something that I've had ever since I was a teen. So in this video, I'm going to cover every single aspect of lifting with scoliosis, because ever since I started lifting, I've had it. And it's never stopped me, as you can see. So I want to help you guys who also have it, because I know that we have the scoliosis crew on this channel, and I want to make sure that you can prevent injury and lift forever, even if your spine isn't completely straight. So first off, in terms of how I developed this condition, I personally believe that it was developed because I used to carry my backpack on this shoulder. And therefore, this is the shoulder that is lower, because I was growing, the plates in my spine were not fused yet, and I had developed a poor posture, which is also a very good indication that proper posture is primordial, especially in children. If I'm catching you right now and you are in your teens or you have kids, make sure they have proper posture and make sure that when they carry their bag, they do it on both shoulders. When I was young, I was stupid. Both shoulders was for the dweebs. I was already a dweeb, so I was trying not to appear to be too much of a loser, so I carried it on only one shoulder and I created scoliosis for myself. It's highly debated because some people say that, oh, it's genetic, it developed in your teens, it has nothing to do with that. I don't buy it, because every single person I know from high school and middle school who has scoliosis on the side where they put their backpack. So what are the chances? They're quite low. So yes, posture has an influence on long-term health. Be very careful. So that's for the start. In terms of when I caught up, I didn't even realize at first. People kept telling me, oh, you're uneven, you're uneven. And at first I thought it was postural. So I was trying to always correct it, always stand like this. But it did nothing because, like we say in my language, le naturel revient au galop. Your actual real posture and the shape of your spine can't be fixed with posture. It can be deteriorated with posture. It cannot be fixed with proper posture. It can be mitigated in a sense, but you will never be able to correct that imbalance because it's not muscular, okay? It's bones. You're not going to reset your bones. So when I actually went and got an X-ray, doctor was like, oh yeah, you have scoliosis. So they did some tests, etc. But that was it. And I remember back in the days, I thought my life was over. Which is funny because at the time I was already lifting, but something in my brain was telling me, wow, this is going to make it impossible for you to lift. And it's, again, nonsensical because I had been lifting with no problem. But the doctors, which for the most part know nothing about lifting, they know nothing about muscles, told me that it was going to create problems. The only person that saved my ass was my actual doctor, which en français, we call it le docteur généraliste, which is basically the guy that saw you as a baby and he follows you through life until you're dead, pretty much. Even he's going to die before you, but he's following you throughout years and years. And that guy told me, no, don't listen to these hacks. Actually continue lifting, because if you reinforce the muscles of your back and of your entire body and core, it's going to make it much easier. You won't get any pain. You will prevent degeneration of the spine, etc. So I believed him, I continued, and I had zero problems. I have never gotten injured directly because of the scoliosis, meaning that I've never gotten a spine injury because of it. But I've had problems created by the imbalance, and this is where the advice comes in. So, when you look at scoliosis and what it does, there are several types of scoliosis. I'm only going to be talking about the one that is going to make the spine bend one way or the other. And depending on who you are, for me, it's in the thoracic spine, meaning that the bend is here and I'm like this. So my spine goes like this, which is why this shoulder is naturally lower. For some people, it's going to be in the lower back. I cannot speak for that. I don't want to get you hurt. Maybe if it's in the lower back, it's worse. And same for people who have a scoliosis that make them rounded forward or backward. I can't help you with that. I have no experience. I can only help you if Your scoliosis is in the thoracic spine and you're on one side or the other. So what that's going to do is, not only does it make one shoulder lower, it also is going to influence the way you do knee flexions and hip hinges. But first, let's start with the shoulders, because I actually got injured several times in my right shoulder because of the scoliosis, but at the time I didn't understand why. So I'm going to save you a lot of trouble. If you have a shoulder higher than the other, what does that mean? It means that on presses, the shoulder that is lower is going to go into a deeper flexion. It's going to be handling more weight. Because if the bar is like this, okay, and this guy is lower, you're going to be like this, or you're going to be like this. Which means that this side of the bar handles more weight because of gravity. So when you think you're actually doing a 45 and a 45, you're really maybe doing a 55 and a 35, which means this is going to get taxed. And it can be a good and a bad thing, because taxation and stress creates damage that gets repaired, which means that if you look at my shoulders, if I flare them or if I go like this one is much bigger than the left one. Why? Because it had to put in so much more work to survive, because it's always going through that extra range of motion and it's always handling more weight. So my skeletal imbalance created a muscular imbalance that is going to be quite hard to fix, because this shoulder is stronger, but it's also been injured times and times again when this one is super healthy. Why? Because it's always the one that's handling the most weight, and so when something goes wrong, snap. And I got hurt with bench press because, again, I was crooked. And the only way to fix that is try to actively correct the bar path and try to make sure that the bar is not crooked. I used to bench like this, and now I'm able to bench with a straight bar. It's going to take some time. If you have to deload to do that, please do it. Don't get injured like me. And I would also advise you to check the injury prevention playlist. I give you a bunch of advice that I apply for my bench so as to not re-aggravate the shoulder, because now I bench with no problem. I had never had a problem with vertical press for the shoulder. The one thing I can say is that same thing, this shoulder goes into a deeper flexion, so it developed more. One thing I want to mention when it comes to that too is this same thing is going to apply to many different lifts. So be careful, because you're going to develop muscular imbalance, as I said. And a big culprit could be, for example, the curl. When you curl, if you have an arm that is technically longer than the other, because the shoulder is going to be placed lower, so in my position here, this is this guy, you're going to find out that the exact opposite as with the press happens. My left bicep is much bigger, but it's also much weaker. Why? Because it has worse leverages, because the shoulder is higher, so the range of motion is also longer. So this guy has had to work more than this guy, and that has again created an imbalance that is the exact opposite of my shoulders. This is a problem you're going to have to deal with. And as a quick side note or advice for people who wonder how to catch up, unilateral movement, 3 sets a week, then bump it out to 6 sets a week, then maybe 9 if you need, and then progress from there. That's pretty much the only way. Find a movement that you can do unilaterally. So, in terms of other lift, if you look at the deadlift, I had been doing mixed grip for a long time. And this is when scoliosis can actually be a good thing, in a sense, because a lot of people, when they do mixed grip, they're going to have the arm that is supinated be shoulder. And in that case, it's going to do the helicopter throwing, and it creates imbalances. If you have scoliosis, it can make up for it, but I still highly discourage you from doing mixed grip. It's not a good grip at all. So you will still do double overhand, and when you do double overhand, what happens? Same for me here. This guy is longer than this guy, which means that there could be a problem when I pull. But I've never found that to be the case. I've never gotten hurt, and I've never had lower back problems, so I can't help you. But if in the comments you had that problem and you fixed it, with scoliosis, let people know. I know that some people also say that if you're rounded forward, it can actually help with deadlift, like Lamar Grant. I don't know about that, it's not my experience. For the squat, it's going to be a similar problem. When you're going to put the bar on your back, it's not going to be straight. In my case, it's always like this. It's tilted. But the good thing for the squat I found is it's much easier to correct. You just have to squeeze the side while the bar is tilting more. So for me, I make sure that I give an extra squeeze of the upper back here and the bar stays spot on my back. Again, never had an issue. If it starts developing a hip problem and displacement because you continuously put more weight on the leg that has the imbalance and that is lower, it can become an issue because the most dangerous thing with injuries is they propagate because you're going to have to either accommodate for them and something else in the body is going to get taxed, or you're going to try and preserve them in a sense and something else is going to get snapped. For example, when you get a knee injury, be really careful because without realizing you're going to prioritize the other knee and it can get snapped as well. So always keep that in mind. With scoliosis, it's not just the fact that you have a postural imbalance, it's also the repercussions throughout the body that it creates. And that is for the big three, my main advice for you with scoliosis. I want to make sure to convey the message that scoliosis is not a death sentence. You can still lift with scoliosis, you can still lift heavy with scoliosis, and you should. Because if you don't train, it's going to get worse. Your scoliosis is going to degenerate and you're going to end up with worse posture. Muscles around the spine is going to act like a compressor. It's going to keep everything tight. Now, the one thing that I have sad news about is you'll never fix it, meaning that you're never going to fix the visual aspect of the scoliosis. It's there forever, it's your spine. And some people will think, oh, you have a muscular imbalance, you have a trap higher. They don't know any better, it's not their fault, don't get upset at it. It's just the way you are now. It's not the end of the world, and don't become obsessed with it and continuously try to correct it and look in the mirror and make sure that you're right and straight. It's not going to do anything for you, it's going to make you miserable over time. And understand also that even though I preach proper posture, scoliosis is proper posture for you now because it's the way your spine is. So for me, I'm always going to be like this. That's just my life now. There is no fixing it, there is only preserving it. And so that's what I'm preaching. Don't go crazy about it, just continue lifting. Don't let it get into your head and continuously train. You're going to be just fine. I had one last advice that I wanted to share with you guys, and I hope I hadn't forgotten it. It was when I was talking about the horizontal press. I had an advice for you that I think I forgot. I will write it down in the comments because I know it's going to come back to me the second I turn off the video. But if you have any questions about scoliosis, how to lift with scoliosis, please do let me know and I will be happy to answer. Thank you. Have a good day.